All right, guys, so let's just take this 4 or 5 minutes and just set some context around Daniel. So in the last video, we showed in Daniel 2, verse 44, this is where it says, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. So this is really important. This is giving us some time context of when is this kingdom. So we're going to start exploring who are these kings and what are their days. Is this past? Is it now? Is it future? We're going to jump in there. But before we do, let's set some context around the book of Daniel and how we got to here. How did we get to Daniel chapter 2 and this statement, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. So let me just personal note here on Daniel. When I started to just hunger for the truth in 2018, it didn't take me long to figure out that the book of Daniel was very key to revealing that truth. The whole Old Testament is, the Old Testament prophets, but the book of Daniel's language, it made it pretty clear, even when I didn't understand that, wait, something's going on here that's a big deal. The entire 12 chapters. And so at that time, though, I looked to the world to explain to me what Daniel meant. And I got all kinds of answers, right? But at that time, all the answers I got had a lot of Daniel being in our future. A lot of these prophecies in Daniel, what I was taught by the world is those are in our future. They haven't happened yet. So that's how I studied it, right? I said, oh, well, everybody's telling me a lot of this is future. This is talking about the Antichrist. This is talking about, all these things that haven't happened. And so I studied it with that mindset, with that context. And to be honest, guys, I could never get it to work, right? I would read it and I'd be like, but wait, that just doesn't make sense. And so where I'm going with this is to ask you to keep an open mind, okay? If you are familiar with Daniel, but you've always put a lot of the context in a mixture of past and future, I would ask you to have an open mind and open heart. If you've just always been confused by Daniel and you don't know, then you probably do have an open heart. You're probably saying, well, I wish I knew more, or I wish I did understand it. And that's just my story, right? Once I let go of what the world was telling me that it had to mean, oh my gosh, unbelievable clarity. And do I understand all of Daniel? No, I'm sure I don't. But the things that was confusing, that were confusing to me, just like that, this light came on when I quit trying to make it fit the narrative of the world. So very quickly, I wanted to share that, but very quickly, what the context of Daniel is Daniel was a young Jewish man, a boy, he was teenager-ish, I think, in Jerusalem, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon at the time, they came and they destroyed Jerusalem, and they took a bunch of the Jews captive. And Daniel was one of those taken captive. And the majority of the Jews were taken captive. Chapter 1 kind of talks about that, chapter 1 of Daniel. And there's an interesting statement here, Daniel 1:17. As for these 4 children, so there were 3 others with Daniel, and they're really important too, and they're spoke about in here quite a bit. God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. So we see right in the beginning of Daniel, he was special, and this is the beginning of explaining that he's a prophet and has that ability to interpret messages that God gives him. He can communicate that way. So Daniel ended up having a lot of power, even though he was held captive, he was in captivity, he gained a lot of power. Nebuchadnezzar trusted him and used him, and their relationship is very interesting to read about. But you can do that on your own. And we'll get into some of that as we dissect these kings in their time. But what happened here, is Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he didn't know what it meant, and it scared him. And after some gyrations, it was Daniel that was able to interpret that dream, describe the dream, and interpret it for Nebuchadnezzar. And this is where we start to learn about these kings. So we'll hit that next time.